I'm gonna ramble on a little bit. I'll get to the poetry, I promise. But I just think it's really cool, and it helped me confirm that I'm not doing this for nothing, or at least that it's having an impact, and that means a lot, which is really, really cool. I think I'm gonna leave the rambling at that. I've been really in my stomach about activism lately. Not just because of 2020 and it happening, but it's something that's been going on for quite a while, basically. And there's different things that I see happening in it. Basically, today I brought 3 poems, or I'm going to do 3 poems, none of which I regularly do. So I'm going to, I hope I get them out easily. And the first poem I wrote a long time ago. It was back in, I think, 2010, when France officially made gay marriage legal. And the streets were flooded in people. At least the streets of Paris were flooded in people protesting against this equality, basically. And at the time, I was quite young, but I just imagined younger kids, like 7-year-olds, 4-year-olds, seeing that and being like, what's going on? So I wrote a poem from the perspective of a little kid talking to his mom, being like, hey, like, what is this? What's happening? Why is this such a big deal? Fast forward to 2020, and we're having the same marching on the streets, right? We're having the same streets being filled up, but I'm a lot older. So I decided to revisit that poem and rewrite it to the context of 2020. It's called Mama They Be Marching, Part 2. Mama, they're marching. It's happening. The streets are flooding like black tsunamis. So much anger and sorrow. This wave can't be shut down. Will drown this world in the tears if it doesn't change. Watch us march in the face of death. Do you see our fists? Do you see us kneeling with our hands up, as symbolic as it is protest? Do you hear the chanting, how it fills the street, how it echoes in our hearts, a spell resurrecting equality from a grave that never existed? Do you hear the music? The ancestors speaking through our bodies, instilling hope and encouragement, strengthening our resilience, and still, amidst all of this, surrounded by the names of the dead, threatened to be murdered, dismissed by those who refuse to listen. Do you see the dancing? The joy found in the rhythmic stomping towards the future, the power and emotion in dance, how pain and fear banners itself into a monster of expression. Watch us move and dance and chant on the beat as one mass taking over the streets. Do you think they'll understand now? That they'll see the pain and not argue with it? That we're asking for change? Will it ever come? And if it does, will they embrace it? Thank you. It's a very angry poem. I didn't realize how angry it was until now. But it's, it's this fuckery of like, these aren't new marches. Like, there's nothing, these topics have been coming back over and over again. It's to the point where you're like, well, it's coming either way. Like, whether you want it or not, it's coming. But how are people going to react to it, even amidst all the protests? And it's partly also, I think, an ode to the people who go out on the streets, who, like I said, literally in the face of death, are like, I'm still not going to take it sitting down. Point whatever you want at me. So that's one. The next one is a little different. I'm looking at the chat at the same time just to see like what's coming in. The next one I wrote more recently, and I think part of what comes up with protests or standing for a cause or that entire line of things is intersectionality, right? Like, how do you stand for one cause, or how do you see people stand for one cause that at the same time turn around and put the very thing that they're fighting against on someone else? At the same time, how do you figure out how to stand up for all your identities, right? So gay, a person of color, the brother of a sister, of a son of a mother. This equality thing is not something that you can just have in one area. Great if for example, a sex equality happens or equality based on gender happens, but then it needs to happen everywhere, right? You can't just fight for one thing. And 2020 was this beautiful year in which like everything was going down at the same time. And I literally felt myself drowning and closing down and not really knowing what to speak up for anymore, because I couldn't figure out how do you do everything at once, basically. And over time, I think I kind of found my place and found my piece and figured out, okay, like my medium will forever be poetry. So if I do anything, it will be in the form of that. because it just allows me to express things better and explain them in a way that I feel gathers understanding, which hopefully then leads to compassion and leads to a lessening in any form of discrimination. And I think this poem I wrote just as I figured that out, just as I was like, you know what, like, stop freaking out, because that's not helping you. It's just making you go into your shell, do what you know has worked for you so far, and see if you can kind of do everything in one go through poetry, because poetry is just a lot more handleable to me. So here it comes. There's a lot of references. So if there's names in here that you can figure it out, by all means, pop it in the chat. I will type out the name for you, and you can Google what happened to the person, because it's all based on things that actually happened. I am Sylvana Simons. I am Akwasi. I am Chalice Vanguard. I am Jilly Emanuels. On Mondays, I am Black. A mother trying to run my business while raising a child, while getting attacked over and over and over and over again, and the police tell me not to press charges. This is in Holland, by the way. All of it is. Out the glass window, out new benches. I am out a thesis-covered flag, and now I am out my entire business. I am outside and with child. I am outnumbered and out of options and out of panic. I defend myself, and now I am out being prosecuted. I am Fabio and Daniel. I am Orlando Boldewijn. I am Gerardo Kenzo. I am Said Zankuya. On Tuesdays, I am gay. I was a son who loved my mother. I was a son told he loved incorrectly. It became the barrier between me and my community. The first time, it became the fist they beat me with every time I visited her. I was hit so hard it etched a groove in my soundtrack, caused a permanent damage on my record. My brain would skip over that moment over and over and over again, as if I was still stuck in a fight that my body wasn't experiencing. On Wednesdays, I'm Black and gay, struggling to explain that the Pink Panther is nothing but an elitist diamond, that racism concealed as preference is still racism, that the addition of a color is there to shine a light on those who are underrepresented, and this is nothing to fight the spotlight you've been standing in for generations. Continuing to explain that Black Lives Matter also means that trans Black Lives Matter, means that queer Black Lives Matter, means that disabled Black Lives Matter, and this continues into Thursday. On Fridays, I'm white enough. I'm the colleague that doesn't think like that, the one that's well adjusted. I'm not like them. And I'm about to start correcting them, but Saturday interrupts me. I am Geoffrey Oefema Orene van der Ven. I am Black, I am white, I am Dutch, gay, brother, son, I am all that I am. I am trying to find a cause that embraces all of me. Intersectionality is the mother of all activism, and there is no space for exclusion here. Thank you. These online gigs stay so interesting. That poem makes me so nervous. I've only done it twice, and the first time was 2 minutes after I finished it.
Wow.